From the heart of Silicon Valley in the beautiful San Francisco Bay Area, I am Sudipto Chatterjee and this is Economically Speaking with Atanu De. On Economically Speaking, we talk about economic topics and how they affect our world. Atanu, welcome back. How are things back in India?
Thank you. I'm well. How are you?
I am good, but I am a bit, I'm a bit pissed off. Reason being, suddenly aloo parathas have become so expensive here. I just came back from the store and 5 of them have cost me $10. And I know we were talking about price, but this price is giving me a very weird signal. Something somewhere is wrong. So
yeah, so I think you used the right word. The price is a signal. It's giving you a signal. It's saying something has happened upstream that has changed the price that it was before, and the price has gone up, and therefore it is some information that is available to you to make your next decision. You'll say, should I go with aloo parathas or should I go with let's say some chow mein? So you make your decisions based upon the information that you got, and the information that is conveyed by the price incorporates within itself a large amount of information that you really don't need to know. All you need to know is the price that you're going to pay for something, and that price signal, now you can take action in the future. So all price information that a person receives or has gives directions. It guides a person's future actions. You can't do anything about the past. That's gone, is done. But what you do is, when you know the price of something, you alter your behavior. Okay. So I would say that you are going to probably be consuming less of aloo parathas and more of non-aloo paratha foods. So this is called substitution. We substitute something. So suppose the price of coffee goes up significantly. Now it could be due to many reasons. We can get into that later on. But there is a substitute for coffee. You could go to tea. And this word substitute is an important thing, because one of the things that an economy does is produce a lot of goods, and many of these goods are substitutes for each other, and some of them are complements of each other. So for example, if you drink coffee and put sugar in it, sugar is a complement of coffee. Whereas if you say drink tea but you don't drink put any sugar in it, then for you, between tea and sugar, they are not complementary. But in the case of coffee, since you drink sweet coffee, sugar and coffee are complementary.
That's a new way of thinking about it. So there's some part of a price that is arbitrarily determined, and there is some part of the price that I am estimating. So for example, let's say I charge people for packing paratha, 5 parathas at a time into a packet, just sealing it. That's my job at a store.
Okay.
How do I determine how much price to pay? Let's say I've been buying them in bulk, but then all I'm doing is just rebranding and selling it again. So how do I determine what my price should be?
You determine, you are the retailer, so we are clear on this point that you are the retailer. You have to decide the cost of your package of 5 parathas to you is something. Let us assume that the price is the cost is $7 to you, and you are the retailer, and then I'm the consumer and I come and pay a particular price. Now there is a difference between your cost and the price at which you sell it, and that is, let us say, a nominal profit. So how do you decide whether you're going to price your parathas, this package of parathas, at $10 or $40? One of the things is that since you are the only, suppose you in the neighborhood, in the city where you live, you're the only seller of aloo parathas. So in that case, you have a lot of leeway in deciding. You can set the price at which you want to sell it, because you're the only one there. But at a very high price, most people will say, no, we are not going to buy any aloo parathas. Even though he's the only seller here, we are not going to buy it from him, because the price is too much and it is we don't value the aloo parathas as $40. So what we'll do is, then you as the seller of aloo parathas will have to decide at whether you should sell it at $10 or $40. $40, there are very few takers. At $10, there's many more takers. And at that $10 thing, for each package you sell, you're making $3 of profit. That is over your cost. Your price is $3 more because your cost, we had said, was $7. So now you're making $3 per package you sell. And suppose at $10 price, you could sell 50 packages. So therefore, you make over your cost 50 times 3, that is $150. But
Right.
if you price it at $40, maybe there's only one taker. And therefore, you have sold one package at $40, the cost of which is $7. So the difference is now $33. So you're better off pricing it at $10 than pricing it at $40. So this is the case where you are the only seller of parathas in this area. But suppose there are 3 other stores which also sell parathas. In that case, you are pretty much constrained by what prices they are charging. So suppose you're at a store in your neighborhood, you have a store and someone else has a store and they are pricing it at $9. So in case the parathas are pretty similar, then you can't really charge $11 for your parathas. When people will say, oh, I can just go to the next store and buy it at $9 a pack. So it's not arbitrary. It is, you have to make the calculation based upon things like what are the substitutes available. In a sense, your parathas are a substitute for the other person's parathas.
So, or your statement asserts at this point of time that one person who's about to make a decision whether to buy 10 parathas or 5 parathas from me at $11 or go to the next store and buy this exact, almost similar same thing and substitute of my stuff for $9 has equal access to these things in these 2 places, right?
Yes, so it requires information. They need to know that, yes, there is parathas of the same brand available in this store and available at that store. One is selling at $11, the other selling is $9. And if it is costless, if they can just move from one to the other, they don't have to go across town to buy the cheaper package of parathas. Then what they'll do is they'll say, okay, we'll go for the cheaper one. But they need to know that. For example, if I'm a visitor and I don't know there are 3 stores in the neighborhood which sell parathas, then I can go to the first store and say, do you have parathas? And they say yes, and say, what's the price? And I buy it. But if I don't know that there are other 2 stores which may be selling it for cheaper, which there might be a little bit of a search cost. That is, I might have to go to one store and look at the next store and say, the next store is cheaper. Just like, when you are in a place and you see at the intersection there are 3 or 4 different gas stations, and one is selling it at $2.70, the other one is selling as $2.50. And then you say, okay, that is 20 cents cheaper per gallon, and then since I'm going to buy 20 gallons, so 20 times 20 is like $4. I'll save $4 if I go to the gas station just across the street. But suppose you are buying only a little bit. They say, why bother? I'm just going to get a couple of gallons of gas, so I don't need to worry about the 20 or 40 cents that I pay extra.
So this is a separate cost we are talking about. How would you define this mental cost?
This cost is called a transaction cost. When you have a search cost, when you have to find information, you might have to look up some kind of app on your smartphone, and then it'll say that in where you are right now, Exxon is selling at this price and Valero is selling at that price. So it might take you a few minutes, and you may be inclined to not go through this search because you're in a hurry, you have to reach somewhere else. You say, oh, what the hell, let's just get this and get going. So if you have a lot of time, then you will say, let me do a little bit of search. Therefore, for instance, when you have a high-priced item that you have to buy, so you'll say, okay, I'll go to the web and do some comparison shopping, and then decide where to buy the high-definition TV that you are looking for. but you wouldn't do this. You wouldn't go through the same search and get all the information. If it was some low valued item, a package of parathas or a loaf of bread, you would say, okay, whatever is available. I normally go to the store, pick up all the things that you need to pick up. You don't do item by item comparison. And then what happens is some stores get a reputation for giving you good value, that they won't rip you off. One of the stores that I like is Costco. So Costco prices its products it sells at you're quite confident they're pretty close to what the cheapest that you can buy, and therefore it serves it sends a signal to people that if you buy at Costco, you don't have to incur the cost of comparison shopping. I suppose you get the idea as to this transaction cost is something that you try to minimize.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And especially if the value of the item that I'm about to buy is low, too much of a transaction cost actually increases the total value of that item, like more than what I would have ideally wanted to pay.
Increasing the total cost of the item. So, for example, you don't want to waste a lot of time buying things like toilet paper and toothpaste and soap, detergent. So what you do is you normally know what you're going to get, and you don't do very much comparison shopping because the value of the item, you know that these are staples. But you don't go and buy a car every other month, nor do you buy a TV every other month. So for high cost items, you need to go and do a little bit of search, because half an hour of search will maybe save you $100. And therefore, whether you're willing to incur a search cost or a transaction cost or not depends upon how you value your own time.
I was thinking of exactly that. How do I value my own time? If I'm extremely busy with my office work, and even if I'm about to make a significant purchase, like say $200 worth of some electronic item, at what point of time do I say not worth my time, just pick the first thing that comes up in my search result?
Yeah, so the important thing you have to recognize is what your opportunity cost is. So the word opportunity cost is a very important concept that economists talk about all the time. So if you were to take half an hour and it'll save you $15 by spending half an hour searching for this $200 item, you have to consider what you could have done otherwise with that half an hour. Suppose you could have written a program, and let's put a value to it. You would have earned at a rate of say $200 an hour. You would have earned in half an hour $100. So the opportunity cost of half an hour of your time is $100 because your billing rate is $200 an hour. So it doesn't make sense for you to spend a half hour to save $15 on a $200 item or any item. Anything that is not saving you more than $100, it is better for you to decide to forego that and instead spend the time in writing a program which you get paid $100 per half hour. Now the thing is, if you were a poorer person who really needs to pinch pennies, so for such a person it makes sense to go through and spend a half an hour, because maybe they are on minimum wages, and suppose minimum wages like say $12 an hour, then basically they are foregoing their opportunity cost of half an hour of search is only $6. And if in half an hour of searching they can save $15, then they are very, very well off in that sense. So in this case, we have looked at two ideas. One of them is called transaction costs. When you do something, it involves a cost other than the cost of the object itself, whatever you're buying. Driving to the store and coming back is a transaction cost of buying a loaf of bread. It has to be included in the thing. And the other thing is the idea of opportunity cost. Whether you incur, how much of a transaction cost you're willing to incur in the purchase of something depends upon your opportunity costs. If your opportunity costs are very high, then you will try to minimize the amount of time that would be required to complete the transaction that you're trying to get done.
This is amazing insight. I've pondered about this a lot of times. Like, is it worth my time? But I did not have the vocabulary to define what I am losing out on. And now that you have brought up these two very important aspects of transaction as well as opportunity costs, that hopefully helps me as well as our listeners.
So next time, what we'll do is we'll talk a little more about opportunity costs, because that leads us to another idea which we have touched upon very briefly in the past, and it's called comparative advantage, and that is the basis of all trade, and that we'll explore in the future. But we'll take up next week. We'll take up the same idea and then get into comparative advantage.
Fantastic. So, thank you very much for your time once again, Atanu. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Adipto. You have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye. Hey folks, do you know we have a website now? It's called, yes, you guessed it, www.economicallyspeaking.org. You can leave us comments there as well. We are looking for any questions you might have of our episodes from before, or if you have a specific topic in mind that you would like us to cover. Give us a call. Also, we are available on Twitter at @econspeaking, and Facebook, facebook.com/economicallyspeaking. Thank you very much.